Today we're going to be talking about a subtle influence that's in the background of most people's self-development journey, and that is alcohol. Now, I have a number of clients who I've found their progress is hampered and slowed down by their drinking, and I know from personal experience why this might be happening. So today I thought I'd tackle an issue head on, one that people are very resistant to. The idea that alcohol is a drug and you are a drug user if you're drinking. I first became aware of this with my own alcohol history. I was a huge binge drinker. From the age of about 13 to my late 20s, at least twice a week I would get blind drunk. Okay, I wasn't really a social drinker like have a sip of wine with dinner. It's more like I'd have a box of beers twice a week. Now at the time I told myself that it's just because this is what everyone else does and this is socializing, but the truth was it was my social crutch. I had social anxiety, and the only way that I could interact in a massive group was basically to have a few drinks and loosen up. I was surrounded by people who did the same thing, so I thought that this was normal and that this was okay. And then I started to have problems. For about a year, in my mid-20s, I had this sort of dull pain in my side. I remember I used to sit watching TV pushing on it, because like a guy I didn't want to go to the doctor. But after a while I had to, because this thing was just annoying me all day, every day. And my doctor did a little test and found out that my liver was strongly inflamed, and the pain I was feeling was my stomach was also inflamed. And I was like this close to getting cirrhosis of the liver. And he told me in no uncertain terms that this was because of my binge drinking, combined with some genetic factors, like I kind of had a weakness for cirrhosis of the liver. And he told me to quit drinking for 6 weeks so that my liver could regrow and heal itself. And that 6 weeks taught me everything I needed to know about the effect that alcohol was having on my life. The first obvious one was socializing. So I was determined not to lose my social life just because I couldn't drink, so I became the sober driver. And I found out how fucking unbearable it is to hang out with people who are drunk when you're sober. It also told me that a lot of my friendships were based just on being drunk with people, and that I didn't actually like them very much, and they didn't know much about me or like me very much either. It was a kind of a shocking realization that if none of us were allowed to drink, we probably wouldn't be friends. But the biggest wake up for me was after a few weeks, which is the amount of time it takes for alcohol to fully stop having an effect on you, my energy levels came back up. I hadn't had this kind of energy since I was 12 years old. I felt like I had energy juice running through my veins, like I couldn't do enough to use up all my energy. I had my weekends back, entire Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. I had all this time to do something with. If anything, I was kind of panicking about how much time I had. And I realized, well, this just tells me how much time I've lost over the years. Being hungover, being drunk, buying alcohol, losing money buying alcohol, and so on. And so I started for the first time since I was a teenager to question the idea that drinking is really an acceptable use of time. Now, the short-term effects of drinking alcohol are pretty well known and obvious, so I'll just quickly run through them here just in case you haven't heard them before. Lowered inhibitions leading to poor social judgment, like sending a text to your ex. Trouble concentrating, loss of coordination, like being tranquilized. Loss of critical judgment, poor decision-making skills, dulled perception, your vision starts to go, mood swings, often people, the worst of them comes out when they're drinking, reduced core body temperature, that's why you always feel so warm, raised blood pressure, passing out, vomiting. That kind of stuff's obvious. We often think of it as just the price we have to pay for drinking, or we tell ourselves we just had one too many, but drinking isn't really that big a problem, I can control it, blah, blah, blah. Where alcohol starts to affect your self-development is in the long-term side effects that you're probably unaware of because you've been experiencing them your entire life if you're a consistent drinker. It only takes a few drinks a week to kind of maintain these symptoms so that they become your normal. Diminished grey matter and white matter in the brain. That's a fancy way of saying brain damage. There are a lot of people out there with actual brain damage from drinking and they don't know it. Memory loss. You might think, I always struggle to remember people's names, or I keep forgetting where I put my keys, without realizing, hey, it's because you're drinking. Loss of attention span. You might blame Facebook and other social media for your inability to focus and how easily distracted you are, but it could be because you got pissed on the weekend. Trouble learning, alcoholic hepatitis, this is the more extreme stuff, liver fibrosis, which is what I had, steatosis, fatty liver, which is also what I had. So you might be having bad moods like I did, and turns out it's your liver having problems. All the cancers, of course, this is the more extreme stuff. High blood pressure, cardiomyopathy, strokes, and irregular heartbeats. There's some others that aren't on the list, like sleep disorders, and mood disorders, and mental illness. But the point is, a lot of the problems you're having in your life that are slowing down your progress and your growth, you might think that you're lazy, or you might think that you're not smart enough, you might think that you're just too tired and you don't have enough energy, and you don't realize it's because you're having a few beers every week. Alcohol is the socially acceptable drug. There are entire countries like Ireland and Czech Republic, New Zealand, Australia that actually pride themselves on their drinking. But it's only socially acceptable because it's technically legal. In medical terms, alcohol is a drug like heroin or methamphetamine. In fact, it is the most dangerous drug you can have. It has the highest mortality rate. No other drug causes as many deaths as alcohol. And what isn't measured so easily is no other drug causes as many self-development problems and as relationship problems as alcohol. Put it really bluntly, if you drink to get drunk more than once per month, then you might as well be a heroin or a meth user. That's the same effect you're having on your body, your brain, and your confidence, and your relationships. The main issue is why you drink. You tell yourself it's culture and all your friends are doing it, and it's, socially acceptable, like having a coffee, which is another drug, but that's another story. But the truth is you drink because you have confidence problems. Alcohol is your crutch. You use it to prop yourself up where your bravery fails, where your courage fails. And because you're using it as a crutch, you can't actually develop true courage. You have to keep using your drug. You want to keep drinking, then keep drinking. But look yourself in the eye and tell yourself the truth. You're a drug user. I used to work in rehabilitation and addictions for many years, and I discovered this amazing thing. Alcohol is the only drug, the only one that requires a medical detox when you're an alcoholic. You can be addicted to heroin, meth, cocaine, all three of them, and you can go cold turkey. It'll hurt, you won't enjoy it, but you won't die if you just quit them all. But if you're a hardcore alcoholic and you just quit alcohol, you will actually die from quitting because of how dependent the body is. You need what's called a medical detox. You need all these calming other drugs to get you through the first sort of 48 to 72 hours. You can become so dependent on it that your body will actually stop functioning if you stop using it. Have you ever stopped to wonder what a hangover is? Why it is that you can smoke weed all night and you wake up the next day you're just a bit tired, but you drink alcohol all night, you wake up the next day and your head feels like it's going to split open. Well, it's a real simple reason for that. Ethanol is poisonous. You're drinking poison. That isn't like an exaggeration. Doesn't matter how fancy your drink is or how good it tastes or the fancy green color, you're drinking poison. Socially acceptable poison. A hangover is what being poisoned feels like. So you're wondering why you're not making progress on your goals and your physical health and your relationships when you're deliberately poisoning yourself every week. I still occasionally have a beer, but I do so knowing the truth, which is I am consuming poison. And I can tell you one thing for sure, my success in life, the massive upswing of my career, my social confidence, my inner confidence, all of those things went on a massive upward spike when I stopped getting drunk. When I actually stopped drinking for an entire year almost. Not even a sip. My productivity went through the roof. It's like I'd been waiting all my life to finally stop poisoning myself and get on with business. You may have been drinking so long you can't even remember what it feels like to be in top form. If you're like me, raised in a country where people drink early and they drink often, you might not even remember what it's like to have all your energy, to have all your faculties, to be able to concentrate. The potential you have to do all those things you've always wanted to do, to have the confidence you've always wanted to have, to be able to manage your emotions like you wish you could. It might all just come down to drinking. If you don't believe me, fine. Try this challenge. Go without drinking for 6 months. 6 months out of your whole life is not a huge percentage. And if at the end of that 6 months you decide it was awful and you want to become an alcoholic again, so be it. But just try it, and especially notice what happens after about 2 or 3 months when the effects finally wear off. Even if you're just a casual drinker who has a few a week, just try it without for 6 months. Try not poisoning yourself. I predict that by the end of that 6 months, you'll be wondering how much time, energy, and opportunities you've wasted just so that you could get wasted. Thank you so much for your time, going all the way to the end of this video. Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what I said, and share it around. And of course, if you're somebody who actually struggles with various addictions, or you're just ready to get your life in order and stop doing shit that holds you back, get in touch and I'll provide you with some more resources or even help you with one-to-one coaching. Dan@brojo.co.nz. I'll see you next time.